on your left, Quang on your right. Both these players 10 and 2, still very much in top 8 contention, as you know. We're expecting probably X3 to be good here for top 8 with 3 rounds left to play. One of these players is going to walk out of this match at 11 and 2 and one step closer to the elimination rounds later this evening. As Quang is going to sacrifice a wooded foothills, fall down to 17, and perhaps we're going to see a search for tomorrow placed on suspend.
And since we're kind of in, that no discard, no LD, no counter spells kind of world, light on opposing interaction, a card that I really like that's in Vu's list here, 2 copies of Prismatic Omen.
Yep.
That's a card that is not great against interaction. It's something that can be blown up, or something where you resolve that, but your key card gets thought seized and now you have nothing going on. We're not really in that kind of metagame right now, and it's all about speed. And Prismatic Omen definitely speeds up your fastest draws.
It'll be a Forest off of the Verdant Catacombs, which is going to bring Quang down to 16, and then he'll play a Farseek, which will get him a Stomping Ground. Not the toughest deck to play is Breach Shift, but sometimes it doesn't have to be the hardest deck to play. It's just got to be the best thing to do. However, if you are Dylan, if you have another creature to play, which you, oh boy. Oh no.
And the Gak. Now, does Dylan just want to push this as hard as possible this turn and attack for as much damage, or does he want to get Hogak onto the battlefield? And I like this as a hedge because Vu's list does have main deck copies of Anger of the Gods. So were to Donegan just attack and try to set up lethal for next turn, Anger of the Gods would be ruinous.
Super cool.
Yeah, I mean,
3 Vengevines, couple Hoagies. Little Stitcher Supplier here.
But through the Breach for Primeval Titan still could potentially be lethal this turn.
Nah, that Forest is gumming some things up here, bro. Also no 5th land, no nothing. We're done. Gak you. Gak attack. Gak target.
Donegan seems suitably embarrassed by his deck this weekend.
Well, talking to Dylan in between rounds yesterday, where Zan is playing like his girl Phoenix deck and is having a good tournament, everything else, and I'm just like, Dylan, you're just playing the best thing, and he's like, yeah, this thing's getting banned. Of course I'm doing this. And I'm like, all right. Dylan has a propensity sometimes to just play the best deck and be somewhat happy about it. He played Death Shadow for a while. He got on the Ironworks train a little bit late, he said. And he said he wasn't going to miss the boat on this one. Up a game very quickly against Quang Vu. We'll take a look at the sideboards here. We're going to start with 3 Chalice of the Void, 2 Damping Spheres, 2 Abrade, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Obstinate Baloth, an Ancient Grudge, and a Reclamation Sage here for Quang.
So the extra copies of Anger of the Gods seem good here, along with the Surgical Extractions for a little interaction with the graveyard.
It's got a little interaction. Not a ton. I mean, you're not finding ley lines here.
Anger of the Gods is not bad. I mean, if you can keep Donegan off Hogak, that kind of takes care of everything else. And the extraction should be good, too.
For Dylan, he's got 4 Leyline of the Void for the Mirror, 3 Assassin's Trophy, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Rotting Rigosaur, 2 Force of Vigor, a Fatal Push, and a Nature's Claim. That 7/6 is probably a little too slow on the draw.
Yeah, it's probably, it is powerful against Regrant strategies. It's not an easy thing for them to kill, but on the draw, probably just too slow. And you wouldn't expect Vu to be that loaded up on graveyard interaction, such that you would need to go to measure that extreme. I do like the 3 copies of Assassin's Trophy and the 2 Thoughtseizes for this matchup. Just a little bit of some interaction here. Assassin's Trophy isn't the best, but it can break up some of the big plays. And Thoughtseize is generally good against decks that are trying to slap multiple pieces together.
Well, we are here in lovely Columbus, Ohio, getting ready to watch game number 2 between Dylan Donegan and Quang Vu here in just a moment. But we do want to go over our Season 2 schedule here on the SCG Tour, where we kick things off in a city we never really been to in Pittsburgh. Oddly enough, that was almost a month ago now, partner, that we watched Dominic Harvey, Jeremy Bertarioni, and Jonathan Johnny Hobbs get the job done in that Team Modern Open. Then we didn't go to Worcester, but our comrades did, and that's where we watched Erin Barrich take her lead on the Season 2 leaderboard for the SCG Tour. And then last weekend in Philadelphia, Corey Baumeister, Shaheen Sarani, the old man, and Peter Ingram getting the job done in that Team Constructed Open. We're going to work on crowning a champion here. It could be Dylan Donegan, another open title for him. And then we take a little break before we head to Richmond.
Yeah, we're going to head to Richmond in August for Team Constructed Open, and then Dallas, which will be Modern at the end of the month. September has 1 open. That'll be in Syracuse, and that's Legacy. October, full calendar with Philadelphia to start the month off. That's Team Constructed. And then Indianapolis the following weekend, which is Modern. The regional championships, you can head over to go.starcitygames.com/regionals for more information when we get a little bit closer to that event. We round out October with a Modern Open in Atlanta, Georgia, and then November and December, one event apiece, but they're the big ones. SCGCOL winner featuring the Star City Games Invitational November 14th to the 17th, and then the Players Championship December 13th and 15th, both of those events in Roanoke, Virginia.
We're talking about playmats here real quick, folks. We want you to know what you get for signing up for our tournaments. For our standard opening classic players, it'll be this playmat deemed Captain's Quarters, illustrated by Titus Lunter. For our modern opening classic players, like everybody who came here this weekend, it's Aurora's Light, illustrated by John Avon. And last but certainly not least, it is Ripped from Reality for our legacy and open and classic players, illustrated by Mark Teeden. All these playmats were drawn for the SCG Tour. These are not Magic cards. They're just cool-looking artwork from 3 very talented individuals, and they're free and exclusive with entry into any open, classic, infinite challenge, or sealed spectacular package. Head over to go.starcitygames.com/schedule. Find when we're coming to a town near you. We want to see you there, like when we're in Richmond a handful of weekends from now, which honestly, I kind of wish I was working that show. Richmond's got good food.
It is. It's also
it's
a beautiful town, city, whatever you want to call it as well.
We did the Richmond show early. Yeah, we did it earlier this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Jerry T and Brian Gottlieb.
I started doing my receipts, my bookkeeping for expenses.
Mm-hmm.
My food expenses in Richmond were
the low.
A lot more. A lot more than any other place.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Really good food scene.
Looks like Dylan's taking a mulligan to 5 here. Of course, he'll get to look at 7 cards because of the London mulligan, but he'll only get to keep 5 of them if he likes to keep that hand. So he's got a little work to do. Does the young man who we met when he was much younger, I would say.
Yes.
We've known Dylan for probably 4 or 5 years now, which is crazy to think about. Looks like he is probably happy with this hand, or at least happy enough. This is going to put 2 cards to the bottom. A deep breath, a sigh, and these players will be given the green light to play this particular game. So we will watch game number 2 here in just a moment. It'll be a Forest and a Search for Tomorrow on suspend once again. For Dylan, it's a Black Leaf List, it's a Faithful Saluting. 2 cards coming, and then 2 cards headed to the graveyard. Dylan's going to discard a Golgari Thug and an Overgrown Tomb. You'll see he likes to separate his graveyard in cards that are relevant and not relevant once they are in the graveyard. Faithful Saluting and Golgari Thug obviously relevant, whereas an Overgrown Tomb with a lack of life in the loam is just going to be hanging out. It's a Farseek here for Quang Vu. He'll play a Mountain to help cast that, as Dylan is going to do a little bit of dredging. 1 Carrion Feeder, 1 Gemstone Mine, and 2 Bloodghast are placed into the graveyard. And now there goes a Marsh Flats. So Dylan's going to fall down to at least 19, potentially 17. And it will be 17. He needs a green source of mana, so he'll get himself an Overgrown Tomb. Bloodghast are back on the battlefield from the graveyard. And we'll see what he wants to cast this turn. It'll be Satyr Wayfinder. 4 cards added to the graveyard. None of them are Hogaaks.
Yep. And in this matchup, you'd really like to get the big thing onto the battlefield as soon as possible because you're up against it with Anger of the Gods.
This will be a Search for Tomorrow from Quang Vu. Vengevine was placed in the graveyard, however. That is worth noting. That may come up a little bit later or as soon as next turn. As Quang searches up a mountain. So 2 mountains, a Stomping Ground, and a Forest. He'll be drawing a card. He does have Anger of the Gods in hand. He will cast Anger, and that's going to clear all those creatures away for good. They will be exiled. He'll then play a Cinderglade, and now a Chalice of the Void on 1.
Was not sure if this card was going to come in or not, but really excellent spot for it with Donegan having his offense stunned a little bit, and a rebuild probably involving either the 1-cost recursive creatures or the Faithful Saluting that's in his graveyard.
That'll be a Dredge 4 there from the Golgari Thug. Gravecrawler, Faithful Saluting in the graveyard. Chalice of the Void is going to do a nice job against both of those. And rebuilding with 1-mana creatures is something this deck likes to do, as you did mention, and that's going to be hard to do now. There is Golgari Thug. Not the ideal play, but that's where we are now as we head back over to Quang Vu. Quang still sitting at a very comfortable 20. Makes you wonder if he's got Primeval Titan this turn. It does not look like he does. He'll just play Search for Tomorrow. Search will allow him to search up a mountain, and we're going to head back over to Dylan. So Dylan will draw a card. Play a Blackleaf Cliffs. He needs to find a copy of Hogak, ideally. There's a Stitcher Supplier. That's going to get countered. Here's another one, creature in Golgari Thug, and that's going to bring back Vengevine. So this deck is still fighting on, coming across here for 5.
Yeah, Vu drawing very heavy. Primeval Titan, another copy of Anger of the Gods. All should be good enough from here.
Oh, Anger does a really nice job of cleaning things up once again. Donegan will draw. Donegan will play a Bloodghast. He'll pass the turn back. That'll be a Prismatic Omen. In for 2 with the Bloodcast comes Donegan. Vu's going to fall down to 13. Vu's got a lot of life to work with. That is for sure. He just needs to find a game winner. Found one. Summoner's Pact will do just fine. That'll find Primeval Titan. And in combination with Prismatic Omen and Valakut, a lot of damage is going to be thrown around there. Donegan knows he's dead, so he will concede the game right away. Quang Vu is going to tie things up here against Dylan Donegan. Breach Shift and Hogak getting ready here for game number 3.
Yeah, even with all of Vu having the right cards there, and Donegan being on 5 cards, there were a variety of spots there where if Donegan had found Hogak, that I think he would have been able to take that one pretty easily. As it stands, the mixture of Anger of the Gods and Chalice of the Void just blunted too much of Donegan's offense, and eventually Vu's going to find something to end the game with.
Hey, sometimes you got to fade.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, right? So that's what Donegan was unfortunately unable to find a Hogak, so Quang Vu did fade. And fade to a win he did. So game number 3 is going to be pretty tough here for Quang, though, because I imagine being on the draw in this matchup is pretty rough.
Yeah, a lot more pressure on Quang on the draw to have his copies of Surgical Extraction. But I think if you can either extract Hogak or happen to just not have it show up in the game, that alongside Anger of the Gods is a really powerful recipe here. But, you know, this deck, the Hogak deck, part of its power level comes from the explosiveness. Even if you have the right cards, they can be too slow, and he'll have to fade Donegan's most explosive openings.
Well, while they're working on getting ready for game number 3, we're going to talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter that we'd love for each and every single one of you to subscribe to, because best of all, it's totes free.
And you can head over right now to go.starcitygames.com/newsletter. Sign up for free. This newsletter is curated by Cedric Phillips, and it's your source for Magic the Gathering news, including highlights from some of Star City Games' best articles, upcoming SCG Tour dates and locations. Are you looking for an IQ or a game night near you? You can find it in the newsletter. And again, signing up is free over at go.starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Dylan Donegan, the player we're going to take a moment to learn about. A member of Team Lotus Box is the 22-year-old from Cary, North Carolina. We met him when he was like 16.
Yeah, I remember when he got accepted to college and then changed the college that he was going to, and then attending college, and now he's a graduate interning somewhere in the college triangle in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Goes by fast.
It really does. 14 opens played last year with 5 open top 8s. He's got 16 open top 8s all time. He's our youngest invitational champion ever with 2 open wins and just that 1 invitational top 8 in Seattle many years ago. Dylan Donegan, everybody. Getting better every single time we watch him play. More top 8s on the resume, I'm sure. Both these players are going to take a long look at it. They're going to keep him. Dylan's going to start with a Marsh Flats and a Gravecrawler. See what land he wants to dig up. And he's going to go with Overgrown Tomb. So he's got his green source right now. We're going to head back over to Quang Vu, who looks like he might be thinking starting things with a Valakut, but he's going to go towards Stomping Ground instead. So we head back over to Dylan Donegan, who's at 17. Swamp. Satyr Wayfinder, top couple of cards. There's a Rotting Regasaur in there. I like having that card in on the play as opposed to the draw. One little weakness of that card, though, that I will mention is that something like the Sakura Tribalder does a great job of blocking it.
Yeah, but, you know, it's not like Vu's deck has a sea of chump blockers. The Tribalder issue is real, but it's not like he has a ton of those.
Well, speak of the devil, and it shall appear, there is a Sakura Tribalder that's looking to block and ramp. Surgical Extraction in the draw step is going to go after a little something here. It's going to go with Faithless Looting. Now, Donegan did not have one in hand, and his hand does not appear to be terribly explosive.
So I guess from Vu's perspective, you know, there's if Donegan had a Hogak, you would have seen it last turn. And he doesn't get an opportunity to hold priority and break up a Hogak should Donegan get it via a flashback on Faithless Looting. So this is his best way of keeping Donegan off of a potential Hogak, which I think from Vu's perspective is the most threatening card. With Anger of the Gods, you can kind of manage a lot of the smaller stuff, and the smaller stuff isn't all that fast anyway. Hogak is the thing that speeds up Donegan's clock significantly, and is something that he can't touch with Anger of the Gods. So it's not a direct answer to Hogak, but it's his best insurance against it coming off this turn.
Well, we're going to see if that's going to work out for him, because Satyr Wayfinder is going to allow Donegan to put 4 cards into his graveyard. So there is Hogak right off the top. Hasn't played a land yet. Well, that's okay. Well.
It's just a delight.
Yeah.
Compelling and rich.
Yeah, that was super cool. Going to get back a Vengevine now. As far as Satyr Wayfinder triggers go, fairly good.
Listen.
Now he gets to dredge Golgari Thug. Sure.
Vu did what he could. I'm not kidding.
I know you're not. I know you're not kidding.
That's the best thing he could have done to try to protect himself from this outcome. You know what? It wasn't good enough. Okay, so the hope here from
All right, talk to me.
Vu's perspective.
All right.
Untap Anger of the Gods.
Take 8.
And then you can through the Breach Primeval Titan.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the way out of this.
That's your 1-2 punch. It starts with Anger. He just drew it.
He's got Through the Breach in hand also.
He does have Through the Breach in hand. Does he have lands? Yes, he's got a Valakut. All right, so he's got to draw Primetime or Summoner's Pact. We're in this. We're in this, Quang Vu. Take 8 real quick.
Got a shot?
5? All you can ask for is a shot. Carrion Feeder. Untap, draw. Is it Primetime, baby? Primetime. Oh!
Does he have land or not? I think we might. Because Donegan's not going to be able to block this Primeval Titan effectively. Talk to me about it. Talk to me about it.
Through the Breach.
Talk to me about it.
That's back-to-back top decks. Runner, nothing funner. So we're going to go get, I think, Valakut, and then attack, trigger.
Yeah.
That's 18.
Yeah.
That's 18. Deuces.
He got it.
That was sick.
Yeah.
That was sick. Quang Vu going to win this match over Dylan Donegan 2-1. No celebrate, nothing. Stone-faced.
But
Stone-faced in the box.
That is, look, Donegan